Hi guys, it's Miss Coffman. This is going to be Monday's lesson, Unit 4, Lesson 6. But before we start, I'm going to go over the announcement. These are going to be the steps for you to do your work this week to be successful. I'm in the process of updating grades. I sent all of you a message for the over half of you that have been doing your work every single day. I'm extremely proud of you. And you will be excused from the upcoming quiz. For the rest of you, I'm not quite sure why you're not doing your work. I am giving you all the answers on these videos, so there really is no excuse. You need to be doing your work, people. So what I did is I went back and I opened the Bellwork and the activity or exit activity for each day last week. So some of you could go make sure you got that work completed. And it will be graded for accuracy because I gave you the answers or you had them in your workbook. So needs to be done. I will be updating grades tonight and tomorrow. And for a lot of you, if you haven't done the work, that's going to be a 0. All right. Just let's get on to this. Starting this week, I've added a daily assignment for you to complete. What you'll do is you'll do at the end of class, it's on assessments. You'll take the answers from your workbook that we covered in each video or in class, and you'll enter them into this every day to get a grade. And this also lets me know that you're completing your workbook and watching the video. So each day you open the class video. We're doing that right now. You watch it to learn, and we do the work together. You complete the bell work and submit, complete the cool down and submit, complete the lesson workbook assignment. And for some reason, if you get all that done, then you are more than welcome to work on the homework assignment. But had a bunch of people getting done early, probably because they weren't actually doing all their work, and then saying that they were completed. I will be also sending a list of those students who aren't doing their work to let them know that you're not doing your work in class. So you need to be getting that done, please. All right, on to modules. Remember, it's going to look a little busy right now. You're going to have 3 weeks on there because some of you aren't keeping your work up. So the very top of the modules, remember you click modules on the home page, is going to be week 4 in the second 9 weeks. That means progress reports are coming up soon. All right, objective for today. This is Monday, so this should be below Monday, and I'll put it there. Nope, one up. The objective for today, I can understand the original amount is the whole, and it's 1. It could be 4 over 4, 5 over 5. Remember, we did that in the last lesson, but it's 1 whole. And 1 whole is also 100%. And I can, when given the starting amount, which is an X amount like we've been doing, and the percent of increase or decrease, find the new amount. All right, so we're watching the video. This is what it's going to look like each day under the video class today. I expect all of you to click that and watch it. All right, workbook pages for today, page 279 to 282. So I also gave you copy percent notes. Please get a chance to open those and read over them. I'll kind of make a separate video where I go over them and talk about them. So you definitely want to make sure you get that done. All right, here we go. Bellwork for today. Go ahead and click that and open it. You can say it says to complete the bellwork and submit. Make sure you're watching the class video each day where I go over this bellwork. Okay, you're going to be using, says at the top, using what you learned today, yesterday, all these days to write fractions as a whole number. Decide what math operation to use to find the k and write it in the following format. Y equals k times x. And for a fraction, we use the backslash. K must be in fraction form on these answers. Enter your first and last name. Click your class hour, and here we go. All right, it says here, Tyler ate X fruit snacks. So there's your whole. And Han ate 3/4 less than that. Write an equation for this problem and enter it in fraction form. Okay, guys, we have been doing this. Okay, our whole or our 1, because there's a 1 in front of that x, 3/4 less. We look at the 4. Remember, this problem is going to be 1 minus 3/4. Less means minus. Okay, in order for us to do that problem, we've got to change that 1 to its fraction form. So we look at the bottom number, 4/4 minus 3/4. Remember, to add or subtract fractions, the denominator needs to be the same. So we keep that denominator and we just do the math on top. 4 minus 3 is 1. There's your k, 1/4. So now you have to do is write that in the correct format. The y equals k times x form. And I gave you k, 1/4. So that means the answer is y equals 1 \4 x. Okay? So get that in there. All right. Now we're going to go to the next one. May skated X miles. There's our whole because remember there is a 1 in front of that X. Claire skated 3/5 farther than that. Okay. And they want us also to write an equation. We got to get a K from those. So remember there's a 1. That X is our whole. So that's going to be 1 minus 3/5. Okay. In order to, oh, wait, is it minus? It says further. No, that's further than that. That means they went that whole and then more. So that is definitely further is going to be farther, or further is always going to be a plus problem. We've got to get this 1 into a number that we can add. So we look at the denominator and we make our 1 into fraction form using 5s because we know 5 divided by 5 is still 1 whole. We have all our pieces plus 3/5. And so remember, when we're adding or subtracting, we keep the same denominator. We add the top. 5 plus 3 is 8. And we're going to leave it in that form as a k. We don't make k's into mixed numbers. We just don't. So again, same thing as up here. Y equals 8x/3x. And you're good to go. All right, make sure you submitted that. And the next thing we're going to do is move on. There we go. To our workbook pages. And on our workbook pages, we are going to be on page 279 to start. Okay? Okay, this is kind of a do you wonder or what do you see? What do you notice? So, what we're talking about today, and before we start, I want to talk to you a little bit again about percents. We're talking about increasing and decreasing. We're going to start talking about percents. All percents are out of 100. And here's why they're out of 100. Because one whole, guys, just that one whole. I'm going to bring this up on my little notepad quick. One whole. Then we've been working with the whole. So one whole. You can write that in 3 ways. We can write numbers in whole numbers or fractions, decimals. So one whole as a decimal would be 1.0. And then one whole as a percent is 100. Because remember, to get percents, we take our whole numbers or our fractions or whatever they give us, and we multiply them by 100 to get a percent. To go backwards from a percent, we divide by 100. So 100% is the same as one whole. So today, as we learn about percent and we learn how to solve these problems and find k's, you're going to learn how important that is. It's also important to be able to go back and forth from a number to a percent and from a percent back to a decimal or number. And again, that's all about multiplying by 100 to get a percent, dividing by 100 to get a decimal. And you can also move the decimal. All of this is discussed in my notes, so you can go over that video or you can watch as I do them here in the lessons. All right, let's go back to what we were doing. Here are the scores from 3 different sports teams and their last 2 games. So you've got the sports teams, football team, basketball team, baseball team. The total points in one game, or in game one, sorry about that. The total points in game two. So the football team had 22 in the first game, went up to 30 in the second game. Basketball team, 100 in the first game, 108 in the second game. Baseball team, 4 in the first game, 12 in the second game. All right, so it wants to know, what do you notice about these team scores? What do you wonder? Which team improved the most? And explain how you figured that out. All right, I want you to look at it for a couple minutes, and then we're going to talk about it together. Put my screen here for you. All right. So when I look at this, at first I wanted to see, well, how much did they improve? Okay. Well, it went from 22 to 30. So it went up 8 points. Okay. From the basketball team from 100 to 108, well, that went up 8 points. And then from 4 to 12 also went up 8 points. Also know something else about from 4 to 12. I multiply by 3. So that means 12 is 3 times bigger than 4. Can I do that with any of these other numbers? Can I multiply by a whole number to get there? No, they're too small. The change isn't big enough. So what do you notice about the team scores? What do you wonder? You can notice any other things. I noticed the scores went up by 8 points. Well, I can write better than that, but I slipped. Well, I'll fix that really quick. Actually got the new batteries from my pen. Seems to be working better. Let's hope it keeps up. Lots better. Okay. So I noticed the scores went up by 8 points. Game 1 to game 2. All right. Lots of things I could wonder. Why did they all go up by 8 points? You know? Uh, are they some of the same players? I mean, you could wonder and notice anything you wanted to there. Which team improved the most? Guys, that's going to be the baseball team. Okay, the baseball team improved the most because it went up times 3. None of the other ones you could multiply a whole number to get to the next one. If you weren't sure, you could have divided to check the second by the first, the second by the first. Remember to find their K. Okay, the only one that went up times 3 is the 4 to 12. The others went up a little bit. Definitely, they went up 8 points. But we could divide those and we wouldn't get, we'd get a 1. They went up, over 100%. But because remember, 100% is going to be 1, and we would multiply by more. But they didn't go up times 3 like the bottom one. Okay? All right. So let's move on to the next activity, which is going to be on your next page, page 280. All right, page 280. All right. I want everybody to hang with me as I start doing this because at first it's going to seem whoa. And don't freak out. We're going to be working on this all week long. Okay? All right. A cereal box says that it now contains 20% more. Originally, it came with, so we had an original box, then a new box. It came with it 18.5 ounces of cereal. How much cereal does the box come with now? All right, so the original box is its X or 100%. It's whole, right? It's one. And it's 1 plus 20% because it said more. Now, we did this with fractions, remember? Just the last unit. We could do it again with percents. There's two ways. Either we change the 1 to a percent, or we change the 20% to a decimal and we work with the decimals. It does not matter which way you decide to do it. I'm going to do it both ways for you, okay? If we use the percents, I know 1 is a whole, so that's 100% plus 20% because it said more gives me 120% for my K, but I can't have percents. We don't use percents in math. They're just to compare things, give you grades, like that. All right, so we got to change it to a decimal. You either divide by 100, decimal, divide, or decimal has an L in it at the end. You take your decimal 2 to the left. So it's 1.2 times bigger times the original, and the original was 18.5. So we're going to multiply that. 1.2 times 18.5 gives us our new box amount, which is 22.2 ounces. All right, if we were doing it the decimal, I'll use a different color. I think that would be easier. If I had this problem to start with, and I didn't want to use percents, I wanted to use decimals. I know that 1 is 1.0 plus 20. How do I change that to a decimal? Because remember, these are our x's. I can either divide it by, when I go to a decimal, I divide, or I move it 2 to the left, which would be 0.2, which would give me 1.2. And that's your K. It's 1.2 times bigger than my original or my X, which was 18.5. And I get the 22.2 ounces. Either way, I like the decimal way, but it's up to you. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next problem. Again, I will quickly work both of these both ways. All right, back to my red pen. The price of the shirt is $18.50. So that's my original. Okay, original. But you have a coupon that lowers the price by 20%. And lowers is going to be subtract. What is the price of the shirt after using the coupon? Which is our new price, right? All right, the first thing I have to do is take my original plus 20%. Now, we can't just do 1850. We've got to find our K, okay? All right, so we're going to start with 1, our whole or original. That is 18.50 because 1 times 18.50 is still 18.50, guys. We got to get our math done first before we multiply. So 1 plus, oh no, not plus, it says lowers. See, that's the thing I miss about being in class because you can tell me I'm wrong. All right, 20%. All right, remember I can do this one of two ways because we're adding or subtracting and we can't add or subtract percents to the price. So let's go. There's our whole. So we can change both of these to percents. I know 1 Whole is 100% because 100% of 1850 is 1850 minus, I just really want to add there, don't I? Minus a 20% coupon. 100 minus 20 is 80%. So my new price is 80% of the original. 80% times the original. We need a decimal. So you could divide by 100 or, remember, move the decimal 2 to the left and we get 0.8 times the original. So 0.8 times 18.50. And when we do that, we are going to get this number in the calculator. But remember, we're looking at prices. When you're looking at prices or dollars, you've got your decimal has to have two places. Remember, it must have two places to be correct. So if I only get one place, always put a 0 behind it. It's $14.80. All right, let's do it the other way. I get my whole plus my 20%. Well, I'm doing it again. It's not plus, it's subtract. Subtracting my 20%. And remember, we're doing it this way because we've got to find our K of the word problem, just like we did with those fractions last week, before we can multiply or divide. All right? So you find your K first. Told you we're going to be seeing K's all year. All right. So I don't want to do the percents. I want to use decimals. And I know 1 is 1.0 minus. Okay, I can either take this to get the percent sign off, to go to a decimal, I divide by 100, or I can move it 2 to the left. I can remember that because 100 has two zeros, and I'm getting rid of the percent sign. 1, 2. 1.0 minus 0.2. It's going to give me 0.8 times the original. So you can see why I like the decimal better. I think it's easier. But again, I teach it both ways because some people like the percent better. All right? Now, yes, people are going to say, wow, and especially if you show your parents this, they're going to say, that's not the way I learned because it isn't. This is a new way of doing percent and it makes it easier. Now, if I ask you, how much did they get off the shirt? It's easy. Its original price was $18.50. Its new price is $14.80. We find the difference, and that tells us how much the coupon took off. 0 minus 0 is 0. The 5 is smaller than 8, so we borrow, leaving 7. Now we have 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. So we got $3.70 discount. It's not the answer you're going to enter. They're going to want the price of the shirt, okay? But I'm showing you how you can also find the discount. Your parents and I learned to just multiply times the percent. But the problem with that is that's usually not the answer they want. They want the new one. This is a much easier way of finding it than adding and subtracting decimals afterwards, okay? So your parents can learn something new from you this unit. All right, let's move on. These do not going to look exactly the same as yours. You guys still on page 280. You've got yours A, B, and C on the left side of the page, and on the right side of the page, you have A and B. Okay, I don't know why they do these differently in the presentation, but they do. So we're going to just go with that. Make sure you pay attention. Okay, so it says we're going to match each situation to a diagram. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. And you do have to in the last assignment where you're enter your answers. You may have to explain your reasoning, so make sure you're paying attention. All right. What I like to do when I have diagrams and problems is I like to go to the diagrams first and get their answers. So I'm going to diagram A, which on your page is at the top over here, and I look at last year and I see 100%. That's my X amount, my original amount. My original amount. This year is going to be my new amount. All right. So we started out with our whole or 100%, and then they added 25%. See how it's longer? So this one went increased 25%. Increase means add. So 100 plus 25 is 125%, which we also know as a decimal is 1.25. Okay. All right. Let's go to B. There's last year's or the original amount. This year's or the new amount. So the original or whole is always 1 or 100%. All right. We're just using percents instead of fractions. This year, it's shorter. See, it's shorter. So they took away 25%. So that's a decrease of 25%. And 100% minus 25% is 75%, which we could also make a decimal. Dividing it by 100 or moving it 2 to the left is 0.75. All right, let's go read and match. A, compared with last year's strawberry harvest, this year's strawberry harvest is a 25% increase. There we go. A, right? Let's go to the next one. This year's blueberry harvest is 75% of last year's. There you go. B. Now, the next two, I'm not going to write the answers next to them. I'll read them aloud, but I need you to write your answers next to those, and you will have to enter them today. C, compared with last year, this year's peach harvest decreased 25%. All right. D, this year's plum harvest is 125% of last year's harvest. All right, so make sure you write those answers A or B next to those two. Let's move to the next. All right. They want us to draw diagrams, all right, for these next two. And you notice they didn't leave me much room. You've got more room than I do. And this is going to be at the top of page 281. So we are now at the top of page 281. All right. We're also going to write these in percent and decimal format. The first one, the number of ducks living at the pond increased by 40%. Okay, so that means I would have had a 100% bar, right? There's my 100%. And I also know increase means it went up by 40%. Okay, then I want to do my next bar, which is going to be the same length, right? In one part of a color. And then I'm going to add 40%, which I'm sure that's not exactly 40%, but so that means it's 100% plus 40% is 140%. Now, when you put this in your workbook, if it asks, I think that I skipped this one, but during this week, if it asks for anything that you had to draw, don't worry about it. You can type in my workbook. Okay? All right, the next bar it wants. The number of mosquitoes decreased by 80%. So the first thing we need is an original bar. There's my 100%. And decrease by 80. So I know my bottom bar is going to be the same. And then I'm going to have all this part marked 80%. So all I'm left with is that little part. Okay. All right. And that shows me it's subtraction too. And there we go. And we can change it to a decimal by dividing by 100 or moving 2 to the left. All right. There we go. All right. Onward, people. We are now on to page 282. Top of page 282. All right, we've got two to do. And if for some reason one of these marks wrong in the assessments, I will be checking the answers. Because the first one, I want you to really think about it. It says, do you agree or disagree with each statement and explain your reasoning? So, first statement, employee A gets a pay raise of 50%. Employee B gets a pay raise of 45%. So employee A gets the bigger pay raise. Well, did it give us an original amount? No. So we don't know how much each one of them makes, do we? Now, if they both made the same amount of money, then yes, 50% and 45% would be, you know, smaller, wouldn't it? So I would agree, but only if both employees made the same amount of money. Okay, money. All right. Sorry, didn't mean to squish it then. So I would agree only if both employees made the same amount of money. And I believe in the assessment, you have to click agree and then you have to tell them why. And that's why. Now, if one of them if employee B made $10, or let's say employee B made $20 an hour and employee A only made 10, then 45% of 20 is way bigger than half of 10. And I can promise you it is. Okay. So if they made different amounts, then no, we wouldn't know who got the bigger raise without knowing how much money they made. Okay. But if they both made the same amount, then yes, 50 is bigger than 45. All right. Let's look at number two. Shirts are on sale for 20% off, and you buy two of them. As to pay, the cashier says 20% off each shirt means 20% off the total price, or 40% off the total price. So she's like 20% plus 20% is 40%. Have we been adding, when we did those fractions, did we add them together? No. Okay, 20% off of each shirt means 20% off of each shirt. Okay, it is, you don't take the percents and add them together. Okay, that's not what we do when we have a coupon. Okay, if you have a coupon and you have a whole bunch of things that you get off that coupon, it when she scans it, it takes 20% off of this item, 20% off of this item, but they're separate. Okay, it is not added together to give you 40% off. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. Okay, so I would disagree. If you didn't know that, you learned something new today. Oops. I was going to already start typing discount. Disagree. Discounts, just like taxes. the 20 or the 20% each shirt. So the total discount is 20%. Okay. You do not add those percents together. They just take it off of each one, just like we pay sales tax on each one. Think about if they added those percents together. By the time they did that, we'd owe more in sales tax than what we paid for all of our items. Okay. So, no, the percents are done on each separate item. And a percent of an item is a little multiplication problem. So, it's just a part of each one. And we add those parts together. We add the money together. Remember, we don't add the other. Okay. That's why we do the whole thing first. So that is it on those. Okay, we got to cool down. Your cool downs on your assessment. Remember, you'd go back to your page. You could click next if you'd like, or you can go back to the module under today, Monday. There it says cool down. Click and open that. Mine's not wanting to open, but you know what it looks like. Mine doesn't go to the same place as yours. So I have mine on here to work it because it's easier. All right. The number of fish in a lake decreased by 25% between last year and this year. Last year, there were 60 fish in the lake. What is the population this year? If you get stuck, you could draw a diagram. All right. So we started out with 60. That's our original, our whole, our X. Okay. Decreased 25%. All right. So first we got to take care and find our K, don't we? All right. So we have our whole, which is our 1, minus. Decrease means minus 25%. All right. There's our problem. Now, if you wanted to do a bar, you could do a bar. Here's our 100%. And you do have blank pages in your workbook. This bar would be the same. 25% of it would be taken off. So that tells me to subtract. Okay. So again, you could start with your percents. If you like using those better. Minus 25% gives me 75% of 60. But we can't use percents, remember? You either divide by 100 or you move it 2 to the left. And it tells you that it is 0.75 times 60. Or you can decide you don't want to use percents. And I know 1 whole is 1.0 minus. I either divide this by 100 to get rid of this that looks like 100, or move it 2 to the left. $1 minus 25 cents leaves me with 0.075 times 60. So 75% of 60. All right, let's find out how much that is. 60 times 0.75 gives me 45 fish. And I think you have to enter the number and then you have to explain. So you just type in your math. Okay? 0.75 times 60. All right? Or the whole thing. All right. When you're complete with that, you will go back to today. The next assignment isn't hard as long as you watched this. And for some reason, if you don't complete it, you can always do this as homework. This is way more important right now. Then the homework I'm giving you, most of those are videos and they're going to help you with the work we're doing now. All right. It says use the answers from the workbook pages we just did today. All of these problems are worked with Miss Coffman on the class video. This will be a workbook check grade, 25 points a day this week. If needed, it can be done for homework. So you click and open that, and it looks like this. And I have selected the problems. Oh, these are not the right ones, though. So let me go back to where I was. I'll pull that up real quick. Somehow I got the wrong open the practice problems and not the ones I wanted to open. They're going to look just like your workbook page, their assessments. And I expect everybody who has your workbook answers, all you're going to have to do is go type those in. I've given you every single one of those answers, so you should have no problem getting them. And, you know, we've seen, or I've heard, some of you hadn't been doing your work. You were getting done early. There was people that weren't following the rules. It was, I told you if we don't have enough work, I have to assign you more. So if anybody's upset by that, let me remind you that I did explain that this would happen. And I sent y'all a message about that. Okay, here we go. They're going to look just like what we saw today. And you'll type in, what did you notice about the scores? What did you wonder? Which one improved the most? Explain your reasoning. It was it was 3 times bigger. A cereal box. We did this one. You enter your answer. Sometimes it'll ask you to explain. Then you type your math. And these are just asking for the answer. Then here's the diagrams, A and B. You're going to answer the question. We did these. You put your letters right next to them. It says explain your reasoning. Well, 100 plus 125 is 125. You're going to show the math we did for explain your reasoning. Okay? All right. On this one, I think I skipped it for you, but if not, you've got it in your workbook. Here is the do you agree with the pay raise? Why? Here's the last one. All right. So everybody should do awesome because you have all the answers. Everybody should get 100%. All right. And that's all I have for today. Please start watching the video and doing your workbook. Okay. All of you have a wonderful day.